Today on Marvel Movie News, is Millie Bobby Brown going to be cast in an MCU movie? We'll find out. Plus, we're going to break down every last Easter egg that we could possibly hunt down in Spider-Man Far From Home. The list is enormous, and we're going to go through all of our favorites and some of the ones that are so deep cut, you won't even believe it was in there. Plus, find out how you can win this poster from Avengers Endgame. It's the We Love You 3000 Iron Man, Iron Gauntlet poster. You can win it if you stay tuned for Marvel Movie News.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interview. Popcorn Talk. We talk movie. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Marvel Movie News.
Good afternoon to you, our merry Marvelites, and welcome back to Marvel Movie News. We are coming to you live, I guess, from the X-Mansion?
Yeah, sure.
I spend a lot of my free time in the X-Mansion, mostly in the Danger Room.
There's nothing X-Men related in our rundown for today, but the music was appropriate, so we shifted the entire show. That's what you get when you have superpowers.
Yeah.
Damn straight.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. I'm Zach Wilson. Got Xia Anderson here.
Hey, guys.
We got Christian Bladt over there.
Yes, I am.
Oh, we've got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about today. As we were teasing in the opening, we're going to do a Far From Home Spider-Man Easter egg hunt, breaking down all kinds of stuff. There's so many little details in this movie, as well as some stuff about the rumors that Millie Bobby Brown might be joining the MCU. There's some other fun little stories. It's a slow news week ahead of San Diego Comic-Con, which is only a week away.
1 week.
1 week away,
and that's
we're going to talk
all the news.
Yeah, we're going to talk about
all
a little bit
it.
about our what we're thinking. Just there's no real news, but what do we think we're going to see next week? But let's. So, the other thing I should make sure that you guys are, if you watch every Thursday or anything like that, we did do our big spoiler-filled Spider-Man Far From Home review on Sunday with our buddy Coy Jandro, and we talked about it for over an hour, just breaking down Spider-Man Far From Home in every fun, beautiful detail. So if you want the spoiler review, check out last episode. It's a lot of fun. It's not available on podcasts and on youtube.com/thepopcorntalk.
So you can watch us and listen to us.
Or is it Popcorn Talk Network? Shoot. Did I just...
Just search Popcorn Talk. You'll find
Popcorn
it.
Talk Network.
Popcorn Talk Network.
Thanks, Rai
Boom,
Guy.
boom. Thank you to Rai in the booth. All right. Let's start with the Millie Bobby Brown story, because there's even some breaking stuff coming out on that as we started the show.
I know.
So I'm glad we saw it. So in case you did not hear the news, because it just broke yesterday, or maybe didn't break, maybe Variety broke. Variety posted an article about Marvel's coming Hall H panel at next week's San Diego Comic-Con. It's obviously going to be a big deal.
Yeah.
It's basically the general prediction is that we're going to see the Marvel Studios movie slate for maybe the next 5 years, maybe more, maybe not, maybe a little less, but roughly 5 years of the Marvel Studios slate is going to be revealed all at once during that panel.
We're going to get Phase 4, guys.
Phase 4, yeah, basically Phase 4 will be revealed to us in the next week.
Oh, man.
Whew.
I can't freaking wait.
So, but in their description of everything going on there, they mentioned the Eternals panel, and in their little list of people that are going to be starring in it, they put Richard Madden, Kumail Nanjiani, Angelina Jolie, and Millie Bobby Brown, a.k.a. Stranger Things 11. Now, that's the first time anybody had heard her name mentioned in connection with any Marvel property. So there's no news about that. Variety seems to think that she fit with the Eternals movie. Mm-hmm. They didn't offer how they knew that, their source on this information, or anything.
It was just them guessing in the room. They're like, this would be great.
I have to wonder sometimes if journalists like that, just like if they drop things just to see what would happen.
Just to cease to like start a fire, be like, can we make this happen? I want this to happen, so we're gonna make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's
allowed
time to drop it. Stranger Things just came out, I thought it would be fun to take a look at what we each thought could be a perfect role for Millie Bobby Brown in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And then we'll get to the maybe this isn't even happening part of the news that came out today. But let's start with, I'm going to start with my prediction because it's the more obvious one based on the news, which is that if she's going to be in the Eternals, which character could she be? And I think that it would be Sprite, also known as Puck, which is how in my mind, it's always Puck, which is one of the Eternals. Sprite is forever young. In the books, he's a male character. There's no reason it has to stay that way. But he always looks like a child forever, which obviously causes him no shortage of frustration.
Well, I mean, that's just a very interesting. They explore that a little bit in Interview with a Vampire. If you've ever read the book or watched the movie, where you have Kirsten Dunst was the actress who played her. Just what that would be like to be old. Or, I mean, ancient, really, if it's the Eternals, and then having to have it live in a child's body. It's a really, really interesting avenue to explore, I think. And I think Millie Bobby Brown actually could play that character very well because she's so poised and she's like wise beyond her years for such a young, like she's so young, but I think that she could bring like a great depth to that role. But it would be I would like to see that character.
But when you cast a female in that role, don't you run into the problem where in 2 years she's not going to look like this and she'll look like an adult woman? Really?
Very true.
So
but I don't think. Maybe, but it depends. This isn't a character I necessarily would expect to see stick around.
That's a good point.
It could only be one movie.
In the storyline that I'm expecting them to adapt, which is the Game and Run, Sprite is somewhat of the villain character. Not that there's not a justification because it's a good villain character, but Sprite's very frustrated and he's very mischievous. If you've ever seen or read Midsummer Night's Dream, William Shakespeare, the character was the inspiration for Shakespeare's Puck within the Marvel universe.
Which is why you call him Puck.
Yeah, it's one of the names he goes by. So, but it's a mischievous little character. Could easily be a young girl instead of a young boy. I don't know. I think it could be a cool part for her, and it would be different from the more like the positive characters that she's played in Stranger Things and Godzilla. I would love to see her play a more villainous role, even if it's somebody you think is good for a while and then turns. It could be fun.
Well, she'd be perfect. Sorry, she'd be perfect for that in the way that, like, you wouldn't assume you'd meet this character and you wouldn't assume like, oh, this is clearly somebody with bad intentions and somebody that's an evil mastermind.
Yeah.
Just look at her. How could you?
Yeah,
I mean,
she's
come
delightful.
on. She is.
So Xia,
adorable.
who were you thinking?
So this is just
play?
wishful thinking, and I think that she would play it really well. I know Christian, you're gonna like this. Yeah,
absolutely right. Though.
Kitty Pryde. I think she'd make an awesome Kitty Pryde, and I would love to see her introduced. There's another thing that we missed in the Dark Phoenix. That we would have liked to have seen that, but did they give us that? No.
A character who also at one point went by Sprite. So you've both suggested.
Yeah, our texts about this got really confusing because at first I said Puck and I was like, wait, no, not Puck, because Puck's the Alpha Flight guy, not that one. It's the Sprite. No, not Sprite, as in Kitty Pryde. As in
That's what our text chains look like, guys. These are our group texts. That's true. But yeah, that would be really awesome.
And then you said that, and it was so perfect. I had so much trouble thinking about it. But then I thought about, and it wouldn't be a character. So I wanted to think like, okay, not Eternals, not X-Men. You know, I thought of some. There's so many female characters from the X-Men could have been. So
okay.
But the first one I thought of was Guardians of the Galaxy, Nikki. And if you just see her, this is a good image that we have for those watching on YouTube, because part of the problem was a lot of the images that I searched were a little hypersexualized. So I was like, well, I don't want to suggest Millie Bobby Brown for that. So I was like, I'm glad this is like an action shot and she's got a gun. And I think it would sort of be an interesting take on the character. This is obviously not the Guardians that we know, but there's so many other Guardians characters to pull from that I think that it would be fun to have her injected into Guardians 3, which I know has already been written, but maybe that character's in there. So that was my first thought. Another thought I had was Nova, the Frankie Ray Nova, the Herald of Galactus, who also the images are of an adult woman, but I had the thought of her playing sort of a younger person, basically pressed into service of helping Galactus. Like anybody who's been a herald of Galactus doesn't really take the job willingly. It's kind of to save their planet. So it just seemed like a good role for her. So those were so I hedged my bets and I picked 2.
Well, I mean, so here's the caveat to all that. I thought we would do the fun bit first, because I think Millie Bobby Brown would be perfect for the role, and it also makes sense that I was not going to be surprised if she wound up in the MCU because David Harbour is already joined Black Widow as maybe Taskmaster, maybe Red Omega, maybe whoever. But so somebody's watching Stranger Things. But Millie Bobby Brown took to, was it Instagram or YouTube?
Something live. I think she was either, I think Instagram Live. Right. And shout out to Cedric House, by the way, for,
we wouldn't have known that if Cedric didn't tweet at us.
He brought that to our attention. And so we did watch the live stream that she said. And she did say that if she's in, apparently people are saying she's in a Marvel movie. She's like, if I am, then I don't know about it. She's like, my parents don't know about it. But like you said, Zach, before the show, what if she just has to say that?
Well, that's the big thing with Marvel is denials are whatever. Denials are worth as much as the rumors themselves. Because all we had to go on for her being cast was that Variety threw it in an article basically willy-nilly.
But it was Variety. It wasn't, you know, like any of the dozens of comic book websites that are out there. Some of them more reputable than others. This was Variety, so it's like, oh, okay, this sounds like this must be a thing. Yeah.
It wasn't Love Marvel Cinematic Blooniverse.biz that posted it. It was one of the premier Hollywood trades.
Right.
So we tend to trust that they have sources for those things and they've been fact checked because they are try not to get sued.
Right.
And they keep they all have relationships. The journalists there have relationships with the studios, so they tend to find things out secretly.
Ooh, I want to find things out secretly.
But Millie Bobby Brown is denying it. So theoretically we'll know more in just over a week. I think the Marvel panel is on Saturday.
Saturday.
Yeah, so it'll be a little bit more than a week before we know those answers, but very soon we shall know.
And I don't think you have a good reason for not going to that panel and camping out all night.
If
you have, because Zia's going to Comic-Con.
Going to Comic-Con.
If they've got like an interview set up, you're like, I can't do it then. You should go to that panel.
Christian, are you going?
I am not.
I am not either. Yeah. This is my first year in 8 years missing San Diego.
This is my first year ever.
I went once and loved it, and I haven't been in a rush to go back. I had so much fun, but I just don't like to walk that much.
It's very fun. It's very crowded. Personally, for me, I'm a WonderCon guy because it's like I have room to like move.
Someone else has told me that they love WonderCon over Comic-Con just because of that.
You got to go to San Diego at least once because it is an experience, and being in the room where they announce those things or like where you're the first person to see those trailers can be a lot of fun. Nowadays, that the news gets broken and I can see it on my couch, which is just equally fun. And the trailers will go up probably that night or like I'll see them soon. But Zia's our ear on the ground.
So I'll be texting you guys and I'll be like live. Well, I guess tweeting. I'll live tweet. I've never live tweeted before. I'll do that.
Yeah.
I'll do some stories. It's gonna be fun. Give you guys the lowdown.
Yeah, there'll be a ton of stuff coming out. Speaking of San Diego Comic-Con, bouncing around on a rundown, just to give you guys the Russo brothers are teasing something. So in addition to Marvel doing their own panel, as normal, they're doing Hall H, and then there'll be a line for literally a day building up for that. The Russo brothers are doing a panel just for them. And no one's quite sure what they're going to talk about. They're probably going to talk a little bit about... Comic-Con does this, where they have like creators come on and it's sort of a spotlight on, and they can do questions about the movies that they just did, what they're working on, what their process is. So obviously they're going to talk about Infinity War and Endgame a little bit, and what all that was like. They do have another movie coming out soon. That's the cop movie where I think it's the one where they shut down New York, but it's not Escape from New York.
What?
I'll look up the name of that while we talk. But
I want to know more about this.
But they did tease that there's going to be some big announcement at their panel.
Ooh. a new movie that's coming out like later this year that we don't know about, that they've been hiding from us. I don't know if they'd be able to pull that off.
Do you guys think that they would do another Marvel movie anytime soon? They've said that they don't have anything on the books. Do you think that let me rephrase that. Do you want them to come back and do another movie?
Yeah, I kind of do. They've got such a great track record. It's hard not to. And I think that the thing with them is they could do something equally as good, but very different. I think they could easily do that, where you're like, oh, I don't feel like I'm watching the same movie, but quality-wise, it's just as good.
That's the thing about the MCU is you can do something so different than what you've done before. The movie's called 21 Bridges, and Chadwick Boseman is in it, by the way. That's what I think. Yeah. So that's the nice little tie-in.
I was wrong. They're not directing it, though. They're producing it.
You're right.
Okay, still.
But in any case, I think that anybody who maybe was like, you mean if Joss Whedon one day, he could do something so different than the Avengers movies if he were so inclined. So I think anybody could take this on, and maybe directors that you wouldn't ordinarily associate with it. So I think whatever phase 4 is, I think there'll be a lot of opportunity, and I would be surprised if the Russo brothers never did another one. I think they're going to take a little break for a while, though, for sure.
Yeah.
I would only I think it would be great for them to take a break. I think that Marvel needs to get smaller, and they're great with those big things. Not that they couldn't do a small story.
Sure. Yeah.
Winter Soldier shows that they can do a more personal, hit those, and they hit the character moments in Endgame and Infinity War. Great. But I would love to see Marvel's for these individual movies. I'd love to see the universe very much shrink to get into the personal stuff
with movies like Shang-Chi and things like that.
Yes,
yeah, I agree.
Much more relatable, down to earth, or down to whatever planet we happen to be on.
Right, right. As down to earth as you can be with a Marvel movie.
But should we ever come to the point where we're going to do Secret Wars? I would love to see the Russo brothers come back.
I really want to see Secret Wars.
Any iteration of Secret Wars, but for me, the soft spot is the original Secret Wars,
1985.
And that one's great for me. The one I would love to see on this big screen would be the most recent one,
right? Because
the cross universe bringing in, and I think if you're going to do Secret Wars, you basically are. That's only going to come at the point where you're like, we got to break some stuff in this universe.
Yeah.
We got to not necessarily hit the reset button, but do a soft reboot kind of thing where certain characters get pulled out and new versions get thrown in kind of thing.
It's a great way to bring in Deadpool, too. Put Deadpool in Secret Wars? You could, right?
Deadpool's the one I've talked about before, where he'll literally just show up and be like, I'm in a different universe now. And then he's in this universe.
Right. Yeah, he's like, oh man, my GPS is terrible. How did I end up here? And that would be it.
Exactly. And that's all you need for Deadpool, because he can break those walls.
Yep.
That's why he's the only character that you can pick up from the other franchise and just put down as is in the MCU.
Take him out where
everyone
you need
else
him
you have to take them over to the sink, wash off all the sauce that's on there, all the Fox gravy, and just start fresh.
Some of that Fox gravy tasted good, but you're right, you should wash it.
It's in my mind the process of taking the Fox Marvel characters and bringing them back to the MCU is basically an episode of Chopped. Where you've got great ingredients, they fit with your meal, but you got to find a way to make them work together creatively. Yeah,
I love that analogy. I love Chopped, by the way.
Yeah, I was watching it this morning.
Yeah, nice.
So anyway, let's move on to our big story, story, more a fun thing that we're gonna do this week.
Oh yeah.
The Far From Home Easter egg hunt.
Yeah.
We talked a little about some of these things in Spider-Man Far From Home, and warning, spoilers.
Yeah.
A lot of these are going to be spoiler filled. We're not going to look, I'm not going to say we're not going to mention the big things.
Spoiler alert.
Exactly. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
So, you've been warned.
Yeah.
If we're going to do Easter eggs, there's going to be spoilers in there.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I can't even warn that we're going to try to be subtle, because some of them won't be.
Yeah, no, agreed.
So let's start at the very beginning of the movie. And we'll just go through. I have a list that's not necessarily in any particular order, but we're gonna go through it. I loved the opening scroll referencing Endgame, where it's at "I will always love you."
Yes. Loved that. That made
the
me
Whitney
laugh.
Houston version, absolutely.
Yes.
That was fantastic.
And so you've basically, it was just, here are the Avengers who died saving the world, which is a very short list when you actually look at it.
Yeah.
Vision, Tony, Nat. and they threw Cap in there because the world doesn't know.
That's the
Right.
world's assumption is that Captain America died.
Yeah.
Because he's just gone all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So what else would you say?
I think I would imagine the Avengers put out a press release to the point that he is dead, because they would have had to say something
Well, yeah.
about like
People would wonder
Nat,
where's Cap now. And,
Yeah.
Oh yeah. They
Yeah, it
would
would be a
address.
whole
They would
thing.
address all of it. Yeah.
and Vision, like all that, or Vision they probably knew about
well, yeah, because
before
that was in
the blip.
Infinity
Yeah.
War.
But yeah, they probably had to be like, we lost Cap, we lost him, and Steve's over there like, I've been keeping this secret for 100 years.
How long would Steve live?
Well,
Is
it
he a
depends.
normal man or
You
just?
gotta figure by Endgame, so he's 5 years older than when he woke up. Well, he's probably 10 years older than when he woke up. In
He
Avengers.
woke up in Avengers in 2011,
Yeah.
and so that would put him in 2018. How old is he in First Avenger?
Well, he's old enough to.
I like this rabbit hole. Let's go down this
he's-
rabbit hole.
He's old enough to enlist, but he was too skinny, so he's at least 18.
At least 18.
Because he
Yeah.
has to at least be. So maybe we'll just, for the sake of estimating, we'll say he's 20.
I was gonna
just
say that.
because it'll be sort of easier to
I think that's a
estimate.
safe bet.
Yeah. And I think he was only Captain America for maybe a full year before he ended up in ice, but I would say not longer than that.
Well,
did
it was
feel
the end of the war.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So that'd be 45.
Yeah. Right. So,
So-
we'll assume that he got to 21, like just for the sake of this.
So we'll say it's
math.
1 year.
Hey, you guys, I actually pulled up a little.
Look at this. He's
backstory.
aged.
So
that's
there's three
amazing.
answers. According to Captain America's biography, he was born in the movies in 1918 on July 4th.
Of course he was.
So he would have turned into a superhero at the age of 21.
Okay.
Ooh,
We were
okay.
very
So I was
close.
close.
Super
All right.
close.
Okay, so he's 21 when in 2000 so let's say
So does he wake up in the ice 22? I think he might still be 21.
So if it was 1945
Yeah.
He wakes up in 2011.
minus 18, I'm literally doing a calculator here. So he's 27 when he goes in the ice.
Oh, okay.
He's 27 when he goes in the ice. So that puts him 2011 to 2018. That makes him 34, or approximately 34 in Infinity War.
And then he goes.
Then it's 5 years in Endgame. So he's 39
He looks good for 39.
in
man.
Endgame. I mean, he looks good for anything. He's
know.
Also true.
He's also Captain America, so like he
also true.
ages. So his body ages slower.
Right, that was my point. Like
So
he has to age slower.
He's 39 when he goes back to
Peggy.
night,
Let's say he goes to 45. Just.
I think that was supposed to be around, like, it has to be after Agent Carter.
Does it have to be?
I'm assuming it is because
All
I
right.
don't take away Agent Carter away from me, Christian.
I'm not even saying. I'm not even trying to take it away.
Not saying
I'm just
anything.
saying she could be good at hiding it. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying it could be before Agent Carter, but for the sake of this, let's say it's after.
Let's say it's after. So it's approximately 1949, 1950.
Okay, that's fine.
So then we're talking about 70 more years later.
So he's 70 plus. So he's 100 and he's 109.
109?
106.
106.
So wow, our math
right.
is great.
70 plus. No, 70 because it was 70
70 plus 50.
39.
Yeah,
Oh.
plus 39. So 109 roughly. So
Okay.
around 110 years old.
He looks
at
great
that
for
point.
110.
Great for 110. So how long ago do you think that he had to watch Peggy die twice, guys? I'm just bringing that. I'm just saying. She's probably
Well,
not
totally.
still alive.
Man.
Real quick, guys. Technically, by the time he's sitting at the park bench at the end, he's 245.
What?
Wait, well, how is
Wait,
he 245? Oh, because also, how long did he jump
Oh,
around through
because he
time
was
before
in
he
the
got?
That's
ice.
fair, but we have zero concept of how long that was.
That's
so
true.
We're gonna say 110 because
yeah,
of
where
like-
did you get 200?
Yeah, that's-
I'm
with
looking at an article right here.
With the 70 years that he was in the ice, they're probably counting.
Oh, I'm not
But he's
counting
not
that.
aging
because he
during
didn't,
that
he didn't age
time.
during that
Yeah.
time.
That's cryogenic sleep.
I
Yeah,
understand that. You could make that argument, but
Right.
he wasn't really alive.
Yeah. All right. That's thing
Sorry,
aside.
guys.
Look, depending on what these announcements are at Comic-Con, we might be doing a lot more episodes like what we just did.
Oh, boy.
How old is Vision?
All right.
figure that
Vision's
out.
like 3 years old, you guys.
Oh,
guess
and he's going to
actually
be
that was
3
fast.
forever.
Christian. This is too soon.
Too soon. It's true. I love Vision.
All right. That aside, we only got one Easter egg in that whole conversation. But so, yeah, Cap, roughly 120 years old. He'll probably live another 20, let's be honest.
Yeah,
But
At
he's just going to be
least.
hanging out in either Avengers mansion, tower, base, mountain, whichever. There's a mountain now in the comics.
That's great.
And
They should.
And just the question is, at 110, how many people's ass could he still kick? Probably most.
Probably, yeah. Most regular people. Heck yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
like, we gotta
back to the
big
Easter
gun.
eggs, you
Yes.
guys. There was obviously the big one, which was, again, spoiler, Mr. J. Jonah Jameson.
So great.
The best one.
Amazing.
And there was
My
a lot of
opinion.
layers to that Easter egg because obviously you got J.K. Simmons returning
Yes.
from the Sam Raimi trilogy. And the dailybugle.net, which was the website that we saw in there, was not necessarily a reference, but it does keep in line with Amazing Spider-Man, because in Amazing Spider-Man 2, there was a website link for the Daily Bugle, although we never saw it.
Right.
There was a website link for thedailybugle.net. That's the website that they've been planting for the Daily Bugle since Amazing Spider-Man 2. So
exciting.
and Sony does own that address, even though it's
Yes.
an empty website.
They still own. Yeah, they didn't do that on accident. They didn't do that on purpose. They didn't
Yeah.
do that on accident.
Yeah.
So.
But
It will be
speaking of
something.
that scene, I'm going to jump down a little bit here. There's a billboard, and this I've only read about because I can't go see it to find all these Easter eggs.
No,
Sit down
yeah, you
right
have to-
down
you have
in
to
the
read
theater.
these
And
things.
I didn't catch this one, and I couldn't find a photo of it either if you're searching for it. There's a billboard in that sequence in the mid-credit scene.
When he's outside Madison Square Garden,
Yes.
there's a billboard. Okay.
And this is one of those, like, is it an Easter egg or is it not? That has in big circle numbers, like big circles, and then numbers inside. It reads 1, 2, 3 dot ellipses, and something big is coming. So it's 1 in a circle, 2 in a circle, 3 in a circle, and something big is coming.
As in the next thing is 4 in a circle.
Which obviously is the
Fantastic
Fantastic
Four.
Four
Right.
logo.
Man, I hope
Phase
so.
4. Also, it could just be as simple
Yeah.
as Phase 4 is coming up
Or
next.
it could be nothing, and we're all like, "Oh my god!"
But to not have the Fantastic Four in Phase 4 would be criminal.
yeah,
We
That's what I
also
say.
saw Peter swing through in that swinging sequence. What was Avengers Tower, I believe.
Yeah, which certainly didn't notice the first time, but I had heard it by the time I saw it the second time.
Well, there's
Yeah.
like a big opening in the building, which I didn't remember being there previously. But we
Right.
also
we haven't seen that building in a little while.
Yeah. So it could have been retrofitted. It's also taken a lot of damage over the years. It might have had a hole in it, and they're like, just go with it. But they didn't show the top of it, so that
Right.
we don't know what it is. We still don't know who bought that building. The rumor is Baxter Building or Oscorp.
Yeah, those are the two that I hear the
saw
most.
I've
Oscorp,
seen
yeah.
Oscorp a lot.
It's got to be one of them. I don't know
Yeah.
what else you could possibly put in there. Somebody had to be able to afford Avengers Tower.
Advanced
Right.
idea mechanics. Just wanted to put one out there.
But we already know that
Yeah, we
we've
do,
already
I
done
know.
them in the
I know.
MCU.
It's
Unfortunately, as much as I love AIM.
Yeah.
Speaking of Phase 4, Betty Brant dropped a little Easter egg line. We're moving on to a new phase in our lives.
I did really like that when she said it. That
That
was
was a
good.
super meta reference,
That was
but like
awesome.
every person who has to cover or like follows this news extensively is like,
Yeah.
ha, phase.
And mentioning Betty, should we
Yeah.
discuss the great? This was fantastic for me because there's an era in the '80s where Ned Leeds, who I have seen since we last talked about this, they have given him the last name of Ned Leeds, at least if you believe IMDb, and Betty Brant are actually married for quite a long period of time. And just the quickest of footnotes, Ned Leeds gets framed as the Hobgoblin by Roderick Kingsley, the real Hobgoblin. So their story has a happier ending here. But so I loved seeing them together. I was like, oh my God, Ned and Betty are finally together. And I will also say I love that actress who plays Betty because she actually like looks like a high school kid. Unlike sometimes when you have these people playing high school kids.
They
So
did a pretty good
they're
job
so
of
good
all these
together.
high school kids
Yeah,
looking like
that's
high
true.
school kids. Actually, it's impressive. Ned looks like a high school
Yeah.
kid. Peter looks like a high school kid. They
Yeah.
they casted well in that area because it's not like
Yeah.
like Andrew Garfield where you're like. I mean, I know it was his senior year, but still.
But senior shouldn't mean that you have an AARP card. Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you. I was happy with that. I was very proud of myself.
All right. We've got some other fun stuff. Hydro Man.
Yes.
Got dropped. Like
yeah.
the water monster that we saw, which like is cool, is traceable. I loved when I went back and saw it a second time that you can actually discern the the drones like flying underwater.
Yes,
you can actually see the
like that.
difference
Yeah.
once you know what to look for, which was really cool. But so they did drop the information on the real Hydro Man. We don't know if this was a false rumor created by Mysterio and that organization, but Flash in the hotel mentions Morris Bench and he basically walks through his origin story in that movie. But where do you guys think that story came from? Like, that was obviously on the web.
Yeah.
But do you think it was just like, was it just like somebody's crackpot theory in universe, or was this a false story? Is there a real Hydro Man out there?
No, I think that it'd be great if there was a real Hydro Man out there. Just as a little nod. It doesn't have to be like, oh, we're going to make a whole movie around him, which we talked about previously that would be kind of hard to do. But you could just have it there. Like, oh, Hydro Man. He could pop up for like when then Spider-Man just deals with him. Like,
and look, these ideas that Quentin Beck uses as the Mysterio elementals, they can all be, they basically came up with crazy ideas, and they probably went to a lot of these same websites and like, oh yeah, let's have a Hydro Man, and maybe that was even the inspiration. So yes, I think there definitely can be Morris Bench, and I'm glad that Flash and his Flash mob are what turned us onto it.
Well, speaking of that hotel, actually, I'll save that one because there's a whole list of named things in this universe that are really fun. But Mysterio dropped the two universes, 616 being the main comic book universe. Also, I think it's S616 is the Peter B. Parker universe in Spider-Verse.
Okay.
Just like they.
Oh yeah.
They but they put a letter in front of it in that so that we could distinguish it. Thank you, Spider-Verse, for not breaking our numbering systems. Because like Miles's universe, like the main universe in Spider-Verse is whatever that first letter is. I think it was S1610, which is the same as the Ultimate Universe, but without the letter. So 616, the main comic book, 833, where Mysterio says that he came from, is the same universe as Spider UK, who is a member of the Captain Britain Force. Spider UK is not a Peter Parker, but a Billy Braddock, who is both Spider-Man and Captain Britain. Because why not?
Okay, Marvel.
Yeah.
And Captain Britons are in charge of protecting the multiverse for sure reasons.
I mean, I would trust the British, so that's fine. But yeah, and it's funny because we spent basically a whole episode on multiverses and those numbers and what they meant, and of course it's just like, people believe anything. So I actually laughed at that moment because I thought about how much time we spent on this show talking about what those numbers really meant,
and how many other people probably also did.
Absolutely.
Yeah, being like, oh my god, you guys, the multiverse, and let's open all these possibilities. And not saying that it still isn't, it's just we didn't get it in this movie.
Yeah. When Peter's on the plane to Europe,
yes, this was great.
I was able to catch 3 of them, but there's 4, and I had to go to the internet to find the 4th one. You can see the movies that he has to select from where he's trying to get away. He's just like,
poor Peter.
I just don't want to think about the crazy stuff I just went through.
Like crazy.
For the love of God, I don't want to think about superheroing for like 9 hours while I'm in the air. And his options for what to watch: Finding Wakanda, The Snap, Hunting Hydra, and an episode of Nova, Einstein Rosenbridges, hosted by Eric Selvig.
Which was nice. That's a nice
I did
touch.
like that one. I did like that one a lot.
So I love the idea. Here's my question: do you guys think that are these all documentaries, or are there dramas? Are there action movies, like historical action movies set around like The Snap?
5 years later, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in the comic book Marvel universe, there exist comic books where, of course, they don't have their secret identities and stuff. So it totally makes sense that there would also be movies in the MCU that are like, people will, produce something like a Captain America movie that, of course, doesn't have Steve Rogers in it, but it's like we want to tell his story. So yeah.
I mean, look, Hollywood's already making a movie about the Paradise Fire from last year. And it's not even been a year, but they're already like, put it into production, let's go. So if there's a historical event with as much drama as The Snap and like all that stuff. It's definitely been made into a drama on screen.
They did it with Sully.
I mean, look, not to be a downer. I mean, but we got 9/11 movies within less than 5 years.
Yes.
So,
I did not watch any of those.
No, I didn't either. But they were out there, and
hilarious.
they were big budget, major studio movies. So this totally makes sense. Yeah.
So yeah, and I would just love to. In my head, I'm just like, who would they cast as all of these people? Like, if Finding Wakanda, Finding Wakanda is probably a documentary.
I would say
Michael B. Jordan
The
as Chadwick
snap-
Boseman.
You mean as T'Challa?
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
That would be fantastic.
The snap, I bet, is the dramatized version of the story.
That would be the one.
Yeah, Hunting Hydra sounds like a Discovery Channel show.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Where they're like looking for Hydra treasure.
Oh my God! Think about what you would find in that Hydra treasure. By the way.
Oh my
That,
God.
Yeah,
that should be season 7 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm just putting it out there right now.
There you go.
Oh boy. All right. So here, let's go through just this giant list, and we'll just throw out a couple of them.
Yeah.
But there's so many little things like in the license plates.
Yeah.
That they are just like literally anytime they had to fabricate a number, I love the production design team on this because they went into details where it's stuff like there's a license plate at one point that's AMF 1562, which is amazing or amazing fantasy 1962.
Right.
Spider-Man's first appearance. Like
Wow.
the level of detail is insane. There's even like when the first appearance of like the fake Hydro Man in this, one of the boats in that scene has ASM 212, which is the first issue that Hydro Man appeared in. The level of detail is crazy, you guys.
Yeah.
It's absurd.
I would love to know who they had working on those little things, being like, ooh, and we could do this, and we could, like, the idea people behind that. I would love to know who that is.
Let's go through the other things that got named, if we can. So if you jump down to the bottom of this list, Christian.
Yeah.
Because we had
yeah.
like basically like again like the hotel that they stayed in Venice was Hotel de Matisse, which is for J.M. Matisse, one of Spider-Man's writers. Then you had like
because I noticed that one. That's the guy who wrote Kraven's Last Hunt,
Yes.
amongst other things.
Yeah.
But so that one I actually caught the first time.
But before you think that they're just referencing Kraven's Hunt, they shouted out like every Spider-Man writer, every big Spider-Man writer, in street names in Venice. Because you had
Well, let me get you to the first one. It's Roger Stern, Calle Sterno. That's
did I copy it down wrong?
Roger Stern wrote actually the era where we first meet Hobgoblin. So
Thank you for catching.
Yeah.
I just had a typo in my,
it's all right.
document.
No, that's why.
But you had Calle Sterno, Calle Slato, Dan Slott, Calle Bendiso, Brian Michael Bendis, Calle Michelinio. I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce it, but David Michelini.
Michelini is how you say his name.
And then this one was a little more convoluted, but
Little bit.
Calle G. Convaio for Jerry Conway.
Yeah, right, exactly. And if you look all them up, they all wrote like at huge eras of Spider-Man, so it's great. Yeah.
So like
Marvel.
I just love the details, the ridiculous details. You had the selfie pose that from the Spider-Man PS4 game, which apparently Tom Holland is a huge fan of, and that's why there's like references to it in this
Which
movie.
is great to
That
hear.
is awesome.
Because he was just playing it constantly, which is amazing.
Yeah.
You had May working for a homeless shelter.
Right.
It's not Feast, so Martin Lee is not around the corner necessarily, but May working for a homeless organization is a big thing from the comics, and it's seen in games and all kinds of different places. So it was cool to see that. We talked about it a little bit in our review, but Dimitri
Oh, yeah.
working for S.H.I.E.L.D. maybe is a reference to the Chameleon. Spider-Man, it's his first villain in Spider-Man #1.
Amazing Spider-Man #1
Yes.
is the Chameleon. Yes.
Is that Dimitri Thug a not S.H.I.E.L.D. agent? By which I mean working for Nick Fury? Because it's not S.H.I.E.L.D. that he's running now, but he does have some kind of organization.
Or could he possibly be, since we know from the end credits scene, could he, the Chameleon, could he be a Skrull? Because boy, you'd be so much better at being the Chameleon if you were a Skrull. So is he like a deep undercover Skrull? You know, so
The Chameleon could just be a Skrull in this universe, like that, like a Skrull who goes rogue and it's just like, I'm gonna go mess stuff up on Earth. Be a real easy way to be a chameleon
for sure.
Yeah.
Peter's birthday on his passport is 8/10, which is the date that Amazing Spider-Man came out.
Yeah.
Or Amazing Fantasy.
Number
rather.
15, yeah.
Number 15. What else? So this one is like a maybe reference, but like, do you guys, and we didn't really get a chance to talk about this in depth, but do you guys think that big moment in the after credit sequence is Sword?
I think it could be, and I think we'll probably know that in a couple weeks. I think if it is, that's going to be part of a big announcement. If it's not, it's going to be some permutation of that. But yeah, that was definitely something that I thought it would make perfect sense. So I hope it is. Let's put it that way.
All right. I mean,
that was all that you can say there.
It totally works for Fury, though, if he's like, well, I can't call it S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
Like, one, that name's got a lot of baggage. Two, there's this random group of people that, like, they don't, like, see a lot of eyeballs, but, like, a couple people really love them. They're calling themselves S.H.I.E.L.D.
They have a very vocal but passionate fan base. That S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah. He's like, so I can't be that. Well... a sword works.
Yeah.
Shield and sword.
And he goes to space. And we obviously get the Kree sleeper cells reference, which was said by Samuel L. Jackson, but where it is...
it's actually
Talos saying it.
Which I did catch that even the first time when they said it before I even knew they were Skrulls. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Kree sleeper cells. We'll see that in the future.
But I'm curious what they are referencing by Kree sleeper cells. Is that just Kree? Because Kree don't have the ability to hide the same way. I guess the pink Kree do.
Yeah, that's the confusing thing because like Jan Rog is pink and they're not all blue. So that's the confusing thing. Yeah.
They didn't do a divide the same way that they do in the comics where the pink Kree are a lower class.
Right.
They just are, some are pink and some are blue. Right. So I guess you could have hidden a bunch of pink Kree on Earth. Or, and I know that we don't talk about this TV series that had an IMAX release, but technically Inhumans could be considered a Kree sleeper cell because they are Kree related.
It's true.
And they are literal sleeper cells in that they don't know that they are with the Kree until the Terrigen activates them. And there's thoughts that Inhumans could be the first thing that is officially cast off from the MCU. Like, yes, you could argue that the Netflix series have been left and forgotten, or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has been left to the side where it doesn't really hit continuity at all. But they're still treated, even if it's not said like out loud anywhere, they're still treated like they're inside the MCU.
Right.
But I had seen some rumors that Inhumans could be the first thing that they're like, did not happen. Here's the real Inhumans in a movie.
I would like that if they did the real Inhumans in the movie, but not bad. That'd be great.
Well, because Feige's a big fan of the Inhumans. He's talked about it before. He likes them. Although now that you have the mutants back and the X-Men, maybe you just don't need to.
And if you know me from Marvel TV Weekly, I didn't hate the Inhumans. I know it's not great, but there are things I like those characters, and I love Lockjaw. So I'm just going to say that it's not as bad as everybody says. I hope Lockjaw shows up in a movie. They can get rid of everyone else, but we need Lockjaw.
Oh my God, yes! Like just the Lockjaw movie.
I want that.
Do like those A Dog's Purpose movies, but it's just Lockjaw.
I would actually watch that.
And Kamala Khan, because they have an amazing dynamic in the comics.
Oh, that's great.
Yes, that's what I want to see in Phase 4. I want to see a Lockjaw's Purpose starring Kamala Khan.
It has to be called that, A Lockjaw's Purpose.
Yes.
Nice.
I agree, by the way.
No different. Don't you dare change that title, Marvel. You can steal the idea, but you damn well better keep that. All right. I think we've gotten all the Easter eggs things. There's some other you had May and Happy dating, which May and Jarvis dated, and that's maybe a reference. But anything else that you guys
you had on the list, it's a good one. And I think we might have mentioned this on Sunday, but Ben Parker's suitcase has his middle initial, which it's such a little detail, but it's great that they put it there.
Which that suitcase is destroyed now.
Oh, yeah, it sure is. You're right.
They mentioned that his luggage got destroyed.
It got destroyed. Oh,
that's so sad. I didn't even think about that.
What if it had a secret compartment in it for years, like the one in Amazing Spider-Man 2?
I'm sure it did, and Peter never found it. So, all right.
Also, there was a poster in the background at the homeless benefit, backstage, for Crusher Hogan which is the wrestler that Peter fought in the comic books when he tried to do this wrestling thing, versus Bonesaw McGraw.
Oh my God.
From the Sam Raimi movies, who Peter fought as a wrestler.
Yes.
Great little like nod towards
I didn't even think
so
of
many
that.
things. Yeah, it's fun. There's so many things. All right. Let's jump ahead because that took up a lot of time and a couple interesting. So we're gonna skip that story because it's just like there's some. You can check out online. The Captain Marvel directors had considered sending Jan Rog to Sakaar in a post-credit sequence because like who says he has to get back to the Kree homeworld? And they played with that idea. Patton Oswalt was talking about like what he might do with the Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. He's doing the which Hulu show is he running?
Oh, the cartoon one.
Yeah, it was doing
my God.
animated.
I forget which
Is it
one.
MODOK?
MODOK.
It's MODOK.
He's doing MODOK. But he was talking about he would love to see a Champions movie and might want to do something with them. He likes the idea of smaller heroes having to deal with the street level stuff, which again you saw on Netflix, but you could do a lighter version. You don't have to do the street level stuff. Doesn't have to all be violent and angry.
It doesn't always have to be Hell's
Just for me
Kitchen.
to enjoy it. No, I'm just kidding.
Let's see Yancey Street. It's a little bit lighter over there.
What's Yancey Street?
Oh my God, it's where Ben Grimm grew up.
Oh.
The Yancey Boys.
Yeah.
So before we get into some Marvel TV news, I want to tease you guys about how you can win this poster.
How can I win?
Because if you've been listening to us on especially on iTunes, you have been getting not just Marvel movie news in your feed, but you've also been getting episodes of Marvel TV Weekly recently. And we thought this would be a fun idea, a great way to split up the time and get so that you can get like the reviews of stuff like Legion that's coming out and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as it goes that we don't really have time to do in just the hour that we have each week on Marvel movie news. But we want to know if this is too much for you guys. We're doing a twice a week release. Is this something you've been enjoying? Is it something you kind of like, but not quite? We just want to get your thoughts on the idea. So we set up a survey online that you can fill out. And then if you go to the second page of the survey, there's instructions on how via Twitter you can enter to win this poster from Avengers Endgame. So we're going to be posting this from each of our Twitter accounts, and it's in the description below this video if you're watching on YouTube, or you can go to the at Marvel News PTN. After the show is done, we'll make sure that it's posted on there. I'm going to post it into the chat right now so that you guys can see how to win. You can even hear me typing.
That's how you know it's
real. He's not just pressing buttons.
I don't think it wants to let me post, even though I'm a moderator, it doesn't want me to post a link in the chat. So you'll have to go to Twitter or into the description below to find that link. But you guys can enter and win this poster. We'll send it to anyone, anywhere. Just make sure you fill it out and let us know what you thought of the movies. Also on there is this is the fun thing. I want to know what you guys think, ranking the 3 Spider-Man 2s that we have now. Because there are 3 of them. Spider-Man 2, Amazing Spider-Man 2, and Spider-Man Far From Home. Which is the best one?
Let me just amend that. We're not going to send this poster off-world. It has to be on Earth. Right?
Yes.
It does have to be on Earth.
If Nick Fury wants it wherever that ship is, no, we're not sending it to him.
That's going to be expensive.
The rate for sending a poster to Asgard is insane. It'd be cheaper to dematerialize it and rematerialize it there.
Wait, we just get Lockjaw to deliver it. See, I've already figured it out. All right,
but
perfect.
you gotta hunt him down. He's off finding his purpose.
That's a great point.
All right, so with that, let's do some Marvel TV time.
Marvel movie news. We're talking TV time.
All right, this one just broke last night, so I wanted to make sure we could talk about it, and then you can check out on Marvel TV Weekly with Xia and Christian for even more of that news on Sundays. But it's not Captain America and the Winter Soldier yet. Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Right.
For now. I see you, Disney. I see what you're doing. Has just put on, just added a new writer to the team, and this is crazy and says a lot about what direction the show is going to be going, because the writer of the John Wick franchise, Derek Kolstad, has signed on to write on Falcon and the Winter Soldier. What do you guys think of this news?
I'm so excited. I mean, look, it's going to be on Disney Plus, so they can't get too crazy with it. But what this says to me is good choreography, and it's going to be like a slightly, maybe just a slightly darker tone, like maybe just a little bit more serious. It doesn't, like, I still want to see their interactions together, and I think that's going to be really good, and there's going to be some really funny moments, but I think it's going to bring like a depth and like a gravity to it that I think is going to be awesome.
Also, I hope that everyone now knows don't mess with Bucky's dog, because if the John Wick writer is here, he's going to make sure that you pay for it. So it's very exciting, especially, like, obviously they're attracting very high level talent for these Disney Plus shows, which is great. I mean, from the cast to the creators and all the writers, so that's very exciting.
What kind of dog would Bucky have?
He would have a Chihuahua.
Really?
Yeah.
That doesn't seem right.
No, or a little Pomeranian. He's soft. He's got a softer side that he needs to explore. And
why don't you just go to poodle?
Fluffy,
like
little Pomeranian.
All right.
I changed my answer from Chihuahua to Pomeranian.
All right, Pomeranian. That makes more
They're
sense.
fluffy.
I feel like, I mean, the obvious, it would have to be a Siberian Husky, right? He's the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, but that's deep programming in there that he didn't even realize. He just got a Siberian Husky. He didn't realize what he was doing.
What else? What, Christian? What would your option be?
So when you said Chihuahua, that seemed crazy, but you know what? I think he values loyalty, and look, obviously, man's best friend. But I feel like Golden Retriever. I can see him just sitting on the porch. You know, he takes off the arm. You know, the dog curls up on his lap, and that's how I feel it is.
Okay.
All right. And before we wrap out of here, let's take some time for Doom's Question Corner.
Ooh.
Christian, let me know if you see anything in the chat as we go through this.
Sure.
While you guys send us your questions, I have one here from Tyler Kelson, who wants to know, did anyone else get series Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Tahiti vibes from the end of Far From Home?
I did.
Oh yeah.
Do you
I don't know what that is. But
And
I'm
just to expand on this, do you guys think that was an intentional reference, or was it coincidence?
Look like Tahiti.
So I think it's coincidence, because they just wanted to show him on an island. But I was excited because I certainly thought of it. It did look like a magical place. I mean, look how relaxed he was.
It was quite literally a magical place, because he was just sitting in a space cube with a bunch of scrolls running around us, just every side of him. That's how Nick Fury takes vacation. He takes micro vacations, where he's like, just give me 10 minutes and a fruity drink. That's all I need.
That's all he needs. Yeah, like he's Nick Fury.
I could see him that being his thing. I do feel like that was a base full of scrolls has to be the most uncomfortable place in the world for Nick Fury, right?
Agreed.
Right?
Yeah.
He must have gotten them to program him a scroll detector.
I mean, and someone clearly stole his shoes, so they like playing pranks on him. He walks out, he's like, "Hey, where's my shoe? Who took my shoes?" Someone's giggling in the corner. I see a scroll giggling in the corner, like,
It's one of Yanrog. Well, I guess Yanrog's kids would be grown up, but
yeah.
at this point.
Here's something from the chat, which it came up a little bit. We spent a little time on this on Sunday, but Tristan Lassiter wants to know if we've talked about the Nick Fury being a Skrull since Winter Soldier theory, because he has a diagonally cut sandwich in Age of Ultron.
Oh, yeah.
Which in Captain Marvel, he says that he doesn't, that weirds him out, or whatever the exact words are. I still think that the Nick Fury we've seen basically up until this movie has always been Nick Fury. I don't think that Talos, has maybe like a charity event he didn't want to go to. It's like that movie Dave, where they have somebody impersonating the president. Sure. But I don't think that long term having Talos be Nick Fury has been going on for a while. But I might be in the minority on that.
It could be that he has been dropping in occasionally, and that would have been a time where it would make sense for somebody for Fury to have called in a replacement, because he literally was like, "I'm out of here."
Yeah.
It also could explain sort of how he gets away from certain things. Like in Winter Soldier, he does do a heart race thing, but it also could have been explained by having a Skrull take his place, and then he slips out. It just covers his tracks for like any super spy stuff he wants to do.
That's
if you
true.
have two Nick Furies and one that can just be anyone running around. So it could be that we're retconning Age of Ultron so that that's not our Fury,
right,
but that this has been a Talos like popping in. Or Nick Fury grew from that moment, you guys, and he changed over the years. And he remembered that moment as like, you know what? Maybe I should try a diagonal sandwich for once.
See, and I'm the opposite. I prefer the diagonal sandwiches.
I'm a whole sandwich guy.
You just don't even cut it.
Really?
Just pick it up.
Like, you're talking about like, because we're not talking about like a hero. We're talking about like a square sandwich.
Square sandwich.
Yeah, I just pick up the sandwich. It's not that big.
I always cut mine in half. Otherwise, I make a mess.
I cut mine in 4s because I'm a child.
Well, we know that.
Where do you stand, chat, on the diagonal cut sandwich? That's our lasting question for you guys. Let us know in the comments below or send it to us on Twitter. Do you hate diagonal cut sandwiches? Do you prefer them whole? Do you have some other weird Christian-like way of eating your sandwiches?
That's weird.
Let us know, because that's a relevant topic on Marvel movie news this week.
Agreed.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us here on Marvel Movie News. I have been your host, Zach Wilson. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at that Zach Wilson. Also check out my other podcast, Ships in the Night, where we take random characters from different universes and ship them together. We just did Dora and Johnny Quest because that's the fun middle school romance that we decided to come up with. So much fun nonsense. That's Ships in the Night. Don't forget to go onto Twitter to find out how to fill out the survey and win this poster from Avengers Endgame that I want to give away to our wonderful listeners. Xia, where can everyone find you?
And I am Xia Anderson, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Xia_Land. That's XIA_Land, and on Facebook at Xia Landerson. Also, you can find Christian and myself on Sunday nights on Marvel TV Weekly, 9 p.m. So it is Marvel TV Weekly?
Yes.
Yes. 9 p.m. on AfterBuzz TV. I get these two shows mixed up in my head so much.
It's almost like there's a lot of Marvel to talk about.
A lot of stuff, yeah.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ChristianDMZ, and I'm also on the Legion After Show Monday nights at 9 Pacific, and it's already been a great season, so join us over there as well.
Loving this season. All right, guys, this has been Marvel Movie News. Thank you so much for geeking out with us.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of its owners or principals.